All right, so I'm here with my buddy Jeff.
Good to be here, Tom.
Yeah, we're going to talk about drones because you and I were chatting yesterday and you were saying that you had one or had played around with some. It's been something I've been thinking about as well. So I was just curious, like, what's the experience been like so far? Why did you give it a shot?
I'd been thinking about it because I'd seen some of the footage that people had put into their vlogs and was like, okay, this seems fun.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I just wanted to play with the technology.
Yeah.
But it's not a small outlay in terms of cost.
So like, what did it set you back?
You're probably looking at about $1,000, if not more. Depending on how serious you want to get.
Because they have like some cheapy, like couple $100 ones, but you assume that those are probably crappy.
My assumption was that was going to be not great for actually playing with. Yeah. And I wanted to get the experience of like including it in videos. Yeah. But at the time I wasn't shooting that much in the way of video. So I set because it was a decent purchase, I set myself the challenge of first I needed to shoot some videos. Yeah. So started with just shooting some videos using my SLR.
Just with a regular camera.
And going, and now I could add drone footage in here and it would be more fun. Okay. And then did a heap of research as to like which drone to get. Yeah,
how did you decide? I'm guessing there's like probably a lot of different options.
There's a heap of options. Yeah. DJI seems to be the main brand. Okay. They have like the ubiquitous white drone that you see everywhere. It's like yay big. They've got an entry-level model called the Standard, the Phantom 3 Standard, which is the one that I had initially looked at, but it has a couple of limitations. The video camera is only high definition, and it uses an older version of their remote control software to connect from the handset through to the drone.
So, was that the main criteria, the camera and the control, or did you look, or do you have to consider like battery life and?
So battery life, there's not much in the way of battery life. You get roughly 20-25 minutes across most of the drones. You're basically not going to get a heap of battery life out of it. There's a trade-off between flight time, weight, etc. Yeah. What it really means is you have to buy multiple batteries. So in buying a drone, I went with 2 batteries.
Okay, so you run out the first one, land it,
throw the second one in, and then go.
How much time do you get for one battery?
About 20-25 minutes.
Oh, well that's not horrible, right?
So that gets you a decent amount of flight time. Oftentimes I'm done with one battery, but then I don't want to have to go back and charge it to use it later in the day. So if I'm traveling, 2 is good. I think if I was more serious about it, I'd probably get 3 batteries. Yeah. The other thing that ended up amping the costs up was just bringing it with me. So traveling with it, I initially bought it just the drone and 2 batteries. Yeah. But the Phantom 3s don't really come with a good box. The Phantom 4 comes with a nicer box, but it's more expensive. Okay. So you end up then also buying a backpack that goes with it.
And you put that in the overhead if you're flying, if you're traveling?
Exactly. So,
interesting. And then
which is where the costs add up.
Yeah. And then are there different sizes of drones? Are they all pretty much similar size, or?
There are now. When I started I really only looked at the Phantom line. DJI has now released the Mavic, Mavic Pro, which is like about this big.
So smaller than
much smaller. Okay. Slightly less good in terms of film quality. But it's like easy to throw up wherever you are. It's super easy to get set up and moving. And just seems amazing.
Was that the one that Casey Neistat was so impressed by? Okay.
Yeah, and he lost his in New York because he was playing around with a prototype and managed to have it lose connection.
Oh no! So is that an issue? Like, can it go so far? Like, how do you know? Does it have like a meter? I have obviously no knowledge. Does it have a meter that tells you like, hey, you're going too far, you need to come back?
So I was flying mine around in Stockholm before they introduced drone laws that says you can't fly in Sweden. And around downtown there was a lot of radio interference. So I'd often be doing a nice tracking shot across the water that was a fair distance from where I was, and it would lose connectivity. And what the drone does then is it knows where it's got GPS location of where it started.
And it'll just return home. Oh, that's kind of cool. So, but that didn't do that for Casey.
No. But Casey, I think, has been pushing the limits of what the drones can do.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing he was pushing this thing pretty hard in terms of what it was capable of. And yeah, that's it.
So for me, the biggest concern I've had is, okay, if I put out that kind of money, I'm a little worried that the novelty will wear off with me. Like, okay, I'll do a couple of like landscape shots and whatever, and then like it won't be something I use like frequently enough to justify. Have you found it to be the case, or is it like the opposite? Do you actually use it more now, or?
That was my concern.
Yeah.
And this is why I wanted to get in the habit of shooting video first, because if I'm not shooting video, then I have no use for the drone. Like it's a fun toy, but it's a very expensive toy if you're not going to use the video that you're pulling out the other side.
Yeah.
So I found it helpful. Like I recently shot some footage of the Zurich Christmas markets and did some beautiful shots coming in across the lake.
So how often do you use it?
At the moment, because I've been quite busy in the rest of my life, it's been maybe once every week or two.
Oh, okay.
Rather than more
once
frequently.
a week is still pretty good.
Yeah, it's like with
how long have you had it now?
4 or 5 months.
Wow, and you're still doing it once a week.
But I think maybe once a week's enthusiastic. Let's say once every 2 weeks.
Okay, still. Like my concern would be I'd use it every day for the first week, then once a week for the first month, and then like once or twice a year after that. No. Like I have an SLR that now I don't pull out because it's too heavy and it's a pain in the butt. But it sounds like your drone is special enough that you do kind of continue to use it. I guess it's not like you can't do SLR. You can use your phone and get close. There's nothing close to a drone, I suppose.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Interesting. And then do you find that you plan your travel with like, oh, that would be a good drone location, or is it just comes along for the ride?
There's a Y factor in having it as well, in that there's a limited tolerance for taking time out for shooting drone footage while on family holidays. Fortunately, she's very excited by the results, but it needs to be something where it's not impacting too much on the holiday.
Yeah.
So we've been on, I think, let's say of the last 5 holidays, 3 of them I brought the drone with me.
And when you have the footage, I'm guessing this is like Facebook gold. Like your friends must love that crap out of it. No?
To be honest, I think the Facebook reach has been not super amazing, because I think the sort of films that I've been putting up haven't been. People just don't interact with video as much on Facebook, where they're looking at what's happened.
Right.
People are more interested in like, oh, what's some pictures of your holiday?
Yeah.
Because they can respond to it better.
Yeah, interesting.
But my family's been loving it. So my family's back in Australia, and they get to see like where it is that we've been. Yeah. And some old colleagues in the newspaper business have been commenting on, wow, great editing, great footage, etc.
What do you use for editing?
Final Cut Pro.
Okay. And how long had you been using Final Cut Pro in the past, or was that something you picked up?
So maybe 3-4 years ago, I'd been using Final Cut Pro 7 a bit.
Okay.
And then the last year or so, I've been getting into Final Cut Pro 10 and putting a lot of time into figuring out how to get better at editing. And
are you putting these videos up on YouTube?
I am.
Oh, awesome. So we'll have to include a link in the description down below. So if you could do it all over again, would you get the Maverick or would you stick with the Phantom?
So I got the Phantom 3 Advanced, which had a good trade-off between price. It got the better connectivity, so you could fly it further, but it had a lower quality camera. It only does like 2.7 HD, not 4K, or 2.7K, not 4K.
Oh, okay.
Which is like, honestly, I'm only editing at HD, so right. I don't really need 4K.
Yeah, but you like to have it.
But the option would have been nice.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if I bought a new drone now, I'd buy the Mavic, just because of I'd be able to take it more places because it's smaller.
Yeah.
Taking a large carry-on backpack is a different level of effort versus throwing a smaller drone into my existing luggage.
And the Mavic, how much is that going for? Is it also around $1,000?
Similar price.
Man,
but smaller. So honestly, at this point, I'm almost at the point of accidentally crashing my drone. Like, so if anything were to happen to mine, I would replace it with the Mavic in a heartbeat. But I can't justify replacing it because there's nothing in the Mavic other than the size that gives me an excuse to move on to a second drone.
How is that common for like drones to crash and need to be replaced, and like maintenance and all that kind of stuff? Or
I think it depends on how much risk you're taking. There is quite a learning curve on the flying, and particularly when you want to be able to fly and film at the same time. So there's a bunch of different moves with the drone that are more cinematic than others. And so one of the things that I've been learning as I've been going along is what's a good sort of approach to get a nice set of camera moves that look good on film. And one of the things that I'd done early on, I was doing a beautiful shot where I was pulling back from the subject, and I was focused on the subject. I was so focused on what I was filming, and because I was flying backwards, I hadn't looked at what was behind the drone because I'm watching the screen. And I have this beautiful shot of the drone going back between trees, and it looks magic because the shots that look amazing are the ones where you get close to things. But what actually happened is I hadn't noticed that I was pulling the drone back into a
forest.
Noticed that on the screen, panicked, and then put the drone straight up into the air, avoiding crashing it. It could have very easily put the drone straight into the tree and been game over.
That's interesting. It's only a matter of time, I guess, before they have like crash prevention algorithms like cars do.
No. So the DJI actually has some image sensors on it.
Really?
So you can fly it indoors, and so that it'll avoid hitting things.
Oh, wow.
But they're on the front of the drone, because the assumption is that you're flying
forward. Right.
But one of the challenges is if you fly forward at a high speed, the way that tips the drone forward, and you get the blades showing in the footage. So to actually get a good fast moving shot, you're actually better off doing it backwards.
Going backwards. So do they have an ability where you can have a co-pilot, like one guy driving, one guy working the camera?
So not on the Phantom range. That's where you need to go the next step up in drones, and that's the DJI Inspire. And that's something where you can fly it as one person and operate the camera.
That would be cool.
Or you can have you flying it and someone else operating the camera. And they give you an extra degree of movement for the camera on the Inspire, because you can control like where it is physically, but then do all of the tracking just with the camera itself. With the Phantom, there's some moves where you actually, in order to get a particular camera move, you need the drone to move.
Right. And that next level up, that's more than 1,000. That's like 2,000.
You're sending. I think you're looking at 5.
Oh,
like that's like the Canon and Nikon camera ranges.
My God.
It's like you go from the sort of prosumer ones. You've then got like the 5D, the serious range, which is you can get in for $1,000. Then you sort of get into like the 1DX range, where it's you're looking at substantial money.
My God. Do you think that's the optimal way to have one person drive and one person shoot the camera, or do you think it's not that much of a difference?
I think it depends on what your project is. And what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you're just trying to say, it would be really nice to have a type of camera move that normally I would have had to have gotten a crane or something, or would have been hard to achieve, then DJI Phantom is more than sufficient. If you're trying to replace a helicopter on a film project, then the Inspire is perfect. And if you want to go absolutely insane and have yourself pulled around by a drone on a snowboard, then you need to spend a year having a custom-made one, a la Mr. Casey Neistat.
What's that one? What does that do?
He built a drone, or he had a drone built that could lift him on a snowboard up a hill, and so put together a production using a drone.
Oh my God!
And that takes a bit more effort in terms of production.
Do they have some that like automatically will follow a object? Because I watch like car reviews on YouTube, and I find a lot of beautiful drone shots. I'm like, oh my God, like how did they follow this car through this mountain so perfectly?
That's included in the entry-level Phantom drones. Like that's just a standard feature.
That's standard. Oh, that's kind of scary. And then what's the deal with like all of these laws and regulations? Is that becoming like a big problem for drone owners?
There's not a good understanding as to how these things should be regulated. So each country is going through its own discussion around like what's reasonable or not, both for personal and for commercial use. Filmmakers fall somewhere in the middle. There's some existing norms and regulations around how to deal with helicopters for filming. There's some stuff around what's reasonable for privacy, just in terms of there's not much difference between a drone versus a paparazzi with a long distance lens. So there's some existing legislation, and then it's a new technology, so there's a lot of concern around it. So some countries like Sweden had started with the no worries, just do whatever, and then they're sort of like there was a ruling recently where they're like actually this is really this fits into a different category, so the only people that can fly drones are those with commercial licenses. Which basically shut down the drone industry in Sweden. Oh, wow. And what about here in Switzerland? Here in Switzerland, without a license, as long as you're within line of sight of the drone, you can fly it. And then if you get a license, then you can fly it outside of line of sight. And to get a license, what does that mean? You just take a test? You just take a test. I haven't looked into it, to be honest. So there were no issues with you flying it around the Christmas market? No. I don't feel great about that. So in Switzerland, it's line of sight and not over crowds. Okay. So what I did for the footage was actually I flew it over the water, but did it in a way that the shots look like I'm coming over the crowd, but in reality the drone never strays from being over the lake. Right. Because I guess that's the risks are the drone crashes into the people, and then privacy, that like people don't want to be filmed. Correct. Yeah, like I would just feel like if I were my neighbor and I just flew a drone in my lawn, I don't know, if I were my neighbor, if he were flying a drone around and it crossed our property line, I would feel a little uncomfortable. I think you're looking at the wrong type of distances. Okay. The drones are quite loud, so if your neighbor is having something just hovering over your house, you're going to hear it. The reality is that these things can go up to 1 kilometer away. So. And what's the normal altitude that you fly at? So I've been not going too high. So I've been staying around 200, no more than 200 meters. Okay. But you can send it at like 0.5 kilometer up into the air. Is there a minimum height that you should fly so you're not violating someone's property? Like, do I have air rights over my house? I don't know. So it's like he could just fly stuff like 10 meters over my roof if he wanted to? It feels very uncomfortable. That does. I'm not sure, and I think this is one of those areas that is different per country. Yeah. What about inclement weather? You don't fly it in the rain, you don't fly it in the snow. Wind? Not while it's snowing, but I would fly it in a place where it has snowed. And what about if there's heavy wind? Does it just automatically stabilize? You don't want to put it up in heavy wind. Okay, because that's $1,000 down the drain. And these are things... But that's where you end up losing drones. And these are things where I'm guessing they either, when they break, it's not, usually, oftentimes it's totaled, you have to buy a new one. Yeah. Like it's not like a car where you can just replace a propeller here or there. You can replace the propellers. I think oftentimes when you're crashing, if you picture crashing from 100 meters up in the air, thing's gonna be for something that's been designed to be as lightweight as possible. Yeah. Like that's like a motorcycle crash. Yeah. All right. Like Casey Neistat has a wall of drones that he's crashed. Oh no! And I think he's been through like 5 or 6 of them. Man. But he's treating them as a professional filming. Yeah. So what's been your favorite drone video so far? I think the favorite one for drone footage has been where I went to Faviken, a restaurant in northern Sweden, and I've got some beautiful footage of the mist over the property, and that's also the one where I went through the trees. But the rest of the video is not particularly interesting because that was one where I spent more time not filming. So I've got some stills pictures that sort of make the story. I think my overall best video is the one of the Christmas markets. Okay, and both of those are on your YouTube channel? Yeah. And we'll link to them down below. We'll link to them below. Awesome. Any other advice for aspiring drone people? Borrow somebody's. It's a heap of fun, but only start playing if you can afford to spare the outlay for the drone, because it's very addictive.
Really?
It's a heap of fun.
That sounds very, I'm tempted. I might have to tag along next time you're doing a shot. Maybe you do one around here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Cool.
All right, thanks guys. If you have questions, you can put them in the comments and maybe Jeff can answer a couple if there are.
Yep.
And hopefully it was useful. Peace.